to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for the Troy City School District. Today is Monday, February 10th, 2014. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Price, can you get a roll call for attendance, please?
Mrs. Beamish.
Here.
Mr. Hefner.
Here.
Mr. Lucas.
Here.
Mrs. Reeves.
Here.
Mr. Trossel.
Here.
Right. Today we've got, first thing on our agenda is presentations. We got 4 presentations today. Mr. Herman, you'll walk us through those, please?
Yes, will. Mr. Evans, you want to come up? We have 2 folks from Upper Valley Medical Center, Jim Herrick, Jim Jones. And basically, we've been working really closely with them as a business partner, and tonight they're bringing us a check.
We are. Keep Jeff happy.
And if you notice around our facilities, you can see more and more things that Upper Valley that are put on it. Still Ferguson out here. So we really do appreciate everything you've done for us, and a lot more to come, I believe.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity to work closely and more closely all the time. Jenny and her crew do an absolutely fantastic job, and we're always open for suggestions on what we can do to help serve you better. And we just appreciate the ongoing efforts from you. So thank you, and Jenny has the all-important check. I checked it. It is in there. And it's the $75,000, which is our annual contribution.
Thank you.
Just to make sure everybody heard, they said it's $75,000 their annual contribution to Troy City Schools.
There you go.
That's awesome. Thank
Very
you.
nice.
One more. Looks so darn good up there, Bill. One more picture.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Earl, anything to say?
Thank you.
No, we just appreciate everything that they do for us, and from sports medicine to athletics. So we thank you very much.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Shake, thanks. Very good.
We want to thank you as well. Thanks for contributing to the Troy City Schools.
Keep doing our job for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Beth Marshall. She's going to talk about Rachel Challenge, which is Upper Valley Foundation, Medical Foundation. And basically what they're doing is they're coming up with money, and it's, I think everyone in the county is going to participate. It's a character building program. It's called Rachel's Challenge.
Rachel's Challenge is brought to us by UBMC. They're offering this to all of the Miami County school districts. Troy has decided to be involved in this. All of our elementaries, middle school, 6th grade, and junior high and high school building. This spring we'll be doing a kickoff, and it will include what the programming is going to look like for the following year. And the following year they'll come in and they're going to be doing presentations from September 15th through September 20th, and they're going to go to each of the buildings. The elementary buildings will have a little bit of an assembly and then some breakout sessions. And then the middle school and high school, they're actually going to pick some of our student body to carry on the character building throughout the year. There's some further information you can find and see Rachel's Challenge on www.rachelschallenge.org. Rachel Scott was the first 17-year-old student that was killed at Columbine High School, and her wish was that her legacy be carried on to do good to other people. So her family put this organization together, and they're passing a good word on to schools. So that's a little bit about it, and we're very excited to be. It's a costly program, and to be able to have this opportunity in Troy schools is a great opportunity by UVMC.
It's a very good program. If you remember a few years ago, we had it at junior high. It was fairly expensive at the time, and we were able to do it 1 year. We couldn't sustain it because of the cost factor. Part of this program is going to be 1 year, and they've told us that they will have funding for at least 2 or 3 years down the future for it.
And some of the elementary buildings will have some literature to go along with it in addition to the program. So it's not just like they come in, put an assembly and leave. It's a continuing program. So.
And Beth has basically volunteered to take care of this program for us.
Where are you going?
I did volunteer. I did. Any other questions?
Any questions? It's a very, very good program. Just takes some time, though, to put it all together, but the funding was right for us, and so it's a good opportunity.
That's super.
Great, thank you.
Next, Megan Campbell. She wants to talk a little about softball. You've had this in your packets. She's just going to come here and give us a little rundown on it.
Hi, I'm Megan Campbell. I teach at Van Cleve, but I'm also tonight here as the varsity softball coach. I took over the program last year, and you know, when you first take over a program, there's so many different things you want to do and what you think the program needs, and then once you get to know the girls, the needs take on a whole different form of what they originally were. Last year, I knew it was too soon to do a trip. When I was in high school, we always went down to Florida for a week and played against really good teams down there. And then I kept seeing my girls, and I would talk to my juniors, I would talk to my sophomores, and I'm saying, are you guys going to play college ball? Because I got a full-ride pitching scholarship, and besides not having the student loans afterwards, which was really nice for me, I learned so much about teamwork, and my teammates I still talk to, and I learned how to juggle a schedule, and you know, my teammates were like, you know, we're going to win the GWAC, or not the GWAC, the GLIAC GPA award, and they were always at study tables, and it was a whole different community that I wasn't used to. And my girls, none of them had thought about playing college or softball in college, which floored me because that was my #1 goal from the time I was probably 6th or 7th grade. So when we started putting the trip together, we found a tournament in Tennessee, so we wanted to stay a little bit closer. So we're going to go down there for 4 days. We're going to take a charter bus down. We have somebody in the community who's taken a large interest in our program, who's writing a really nice check to our booster program to help pay for the charter bus and different things, along with our girls' fundraising. But while we're down there, my focus is really to take them. I have some juniors who, phenomenal players. I've got great girls, good character, hard workers who have never set foot on a college campus, who have never watched a college softball game to say like, hey, my skills and work ethic are right up there with these girls, because they just assume they can't play. College is like this unattainable goal of being a college softball player. So you'll see on there that we are going to a couple college softball games while we're down there, as well as we're going to schedule some campus visits as well for some of the girls. And also my assistant coach, she also played college ball. So to be able to answer some of those questions and just have those conversations with ourselves, but also with the girls who are currently playing college ball, to say like, how do you juggle school? How do you do this? And letting our student athletes see that there is a way to balance both of those things. So that's our hopes of going down to Tennessee for a few days, and then come back and be ready to beat Piqua as soon as we get back. So that's Monday and Tuesday on the agenda after we're done down in Tennessee.
As a program in the past, have they made trips before, previous coaches?
Not that I'm aware of. So
And just where did you finish last year in the GWAC?
we finished 3rd. Greenville and Piqua were 1 and 2, and then we were they were tied for 1, so they were 1 and 2, and then we were 3rd, but not this year. So. Not this year. So.
Boys are also going to Tennessee, aren't they?
They're going to Kentucky.
From Kentucky, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we're very excited, so.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Moore, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. We get to follow such great topics tonight that we've heard from our 3 presenters. I'm here to give you the monthly Race to the Top update. The big news from Race to the Top for this month is that we've got an order made, a purchase order's been cut to purchase 270 Chromebooks. Chromebook is similar to an iPad, I mean not an iPad, but a laptop that can be used for testing purposes. And we've spent a lot of time with the Race to the Top team to determine what our best option was to help our buildings have the appropriate materials, that when the new tests are implemented and online testing is implemented, that we've got the right materials that can accommodate our student body throughout the buildings. That's to the tune of about $92,000, and that will outfit each building with 30 Chromebooks and a cart for storage purposes. We're very excited about that. Can't wait to get those in and to see those and begin to implement that process. As we implement that process, we are spending a lot of time working with the buildings and the principals and the state on preparing for the spring field tests for park and math and language arts, and also the Ohio Department of Education for Science and Social Studies. So the spring will be a busy time. It's really pretty exciting to finally get our hands on some of that information and to try it out. And as we've talked about, troubleshoot that a little bit to find out what we need to do to improve, not only with technology but also instructionally and scheduling our buildings around some of this testing. Mr. Overlow and I were just talking about that before the meeting about the challenges of scheduling some of the testing for the large groups. So very exciting times. We're patiently awaiting more news or more word regarding the 5th year of funding for the Race to the Top funds. We've had information, as I shared last month. Not a lot has come forth since our last meeting, but we are awaiting that as well. Our staff will be participating in a waiver day this Friday, February 14th. And that's our second waiver day of this school year that's connected to Race to the Top initiative. So our staff members will have a chance to participate in collaborative opportunities where they can work together if they choose to. And we've got some other things planned that are also, I think, good events that were generated from staff interest, that we tried to accommodate some of their wishes on what are some things you would like some help with, or what would you like to see, or what would you like to have some time to work with each other on. So we're pretty excited about Friday. Got a lot of things going on. And collaboration time, it's been even more challenging with the number of calamity days and snow days and things, that the schedule has just been a little bit out of sorts for everyone. So we're hopeful that this is a nice day for people to get some good work done. Our next Race to the Top meeting will be March 21st. At that time, we are surprisingly approaching some year-end type activities as we work through finalization of some of the OTES process heading into May, as well as finalization of student learning objective goals and collecting that evidence and data. And continuing to work towards that field testing. By that time, we'll be getting close to participating in some of that field testing right as we get closer to spring break there. So a ton of exciting things going on with Race to the Top initiatives. Any questions that I can help with?
This isn't necessarily Race to the Top, but how do we stand with being prepared for testing with all the snow days and everything that we've had? Are we in okay shape, or is it?
Well, I think my first response to that would be any time we lose instructional time with kids, there's a chance that we're just missing that time out. I'm sure that some of our teachers in attendance tonight would say they'd love to have all the time they can get with them as possible. Especially if you look at the time frame, but we had approximately 2-week Christmas break with those snow days, and then we had more snow days after that. I think kids and teachers all function better if we can maintain a routine of schedule where we're instructing kids consistently. I think we are as good as we can be right now. Our hopes is that we can get some cooperation from the weather and get a consistent routine going. Our teachers do a wonderful job. They really get amped up or excited about this time of year leading into testing, and there's a lot of work to be done. So I know there's some of them that are feeling some anxiousness or anxiety. There's been some talk, and Mr. Herman could share more if he would like as well, but there's been some talk among the state legislators about possibly adjusting some of those schedules. There are a ton of challenges tied in with doing that. It's not quite as simple as, just move those. There's a lot of other things that play into that. But I know our principals and our teachers are very aware of the challenges they face. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but our people have proven they can do that with our ratings in the past. Anything you'd like to add on that, Eric?
I wish there was a quick solution to it. Who knows what the weather's going to do?
Right.
I spend a lot of time with the weather, and I can't get 2 or 3 stations all on the same night to agree on what the weather is. So it's really, I wish it was more of a science and I could predict it out, but I believe one day last week it was going to be like a -5 below, and it was 19 when I came in. So it's not perfect at all. So we're doing the best we can with that. This is truly an abnormal winter. Last year though we had a couple snow days, but didn't have until March. So we're not out of this by any means. There is some legislation going on right now to give us 4 extra days. Along with the 4 extra days, I think they attached onto that legislation was about graduation, so that the seniors could graduate on time, to allow them to go ahead and graduate on time and don't mess with that. So that's attached to that. And the other part of it is if you need extra time, you could add 30 minutes per day. As you know, in our calendar, we have 5 days that are accommodated at the very end. When we're out, so we have 5 days that happen at the end. So that's where we would normally go to. So, it's not perfect, but I tell you, I called somebody up north the other day, and I was feeling bad. We were at 8, and they were at 14 when I talked to them. So, we're better than them, I guess, but it's still not where we'd like to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to our first hearing of the public. If anyone would like to address the board regarding anything on the agenda, please stand, state your name, give your address, and tell us what you'd like to talk about. Seeing none, we'll move on to our treasurer's report. First thing under our treasurer's report is a consideration of approval of minutes. Exhibit A is minutes from our regular meeting on January 14th, 2014. Exhibit B is the minutes of our special meeting on January 21st, 2014. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
I would move to approve both sets of minutes.
Second.
Any questions, comments, any edits we need to make? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Trussell?
Yes.
Mrs. Beamish?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes. Next is our financial report. In our financial reports, we refer to reference Exhibit C is the January 2014 SM2, the monthly total revenue, the monthly total expenditure, the monthly ending balance, schedule of revenues, expenditure of changes in fund balances, the 5-year forecast, and the appropriation account summary, and the investment schedule. A lot of information there, and we'll talk specifically. I'd like to get a motion to approve the treasurer's report, financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Price, I'd like to.
I also placed before you a comparison with our latest income tax settlement. I believe Eric updated you briefly with his weekly update last week, but we did come in with this quarterly settlement $126,000 more than the prior fiscal year quarterly settlement, and as of right now we are running about $226,000 better than what we anticipated and received last fiscal year, with one more quarterly settlement to come at the end of April.
Where do you think this difference comes from?
It's a little bit hard to say. They've broken it, you'll notice in with the January settlement, they've broken it down to a few more line items compared to prior quarterly settlements, giving us a little bit more detail. We are up with monthly collections, so that would garner either people have seen a pay increase or we have more people coming back into the weekly or bi-weekly payroll scenario. I anticipate seeing April a little higher than prior year due to the fact that last September for General on the Road, when people start filing their income tax returns, we should see an increase due to that alone going forward. So we're anxiously anticipating that April settlement to see the full, and this may be part of it too, this increase. So.
Anything we want to discuss on the SM2?
We are running a little better off than what we had projected still. Medical claims are still running better than they have been the last couple years. That's the bulk of our better financial position to date, along with the income tax settlement. We anticipate within the next probably month to get a final property tax settlement, second and final one of the year. We have received one advance and have requested the second for this Friday, and I have one more coming for the final settlement next week. But so far, knock on wood, expenses have not gone up more than what we had projected so far.
questions or for Mr. Price?
Expenses are down, revenue's up, we're
We're
doing
happy.
what we can,
Like
right?
right direction, huh?
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Hefner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beamish.
Yes.
Mrs. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Trussell,
Yes.
Mr. Lucas.
Yes. To finalize the treasurer's report, we have a then and now. This is where we have a retroactive approval for purchase orders. Happens every once in a while. There are two criteria must be met for this. First, the funds must have been available when they were available. Secondly, as we approve this, the funds must still be available. I'd like to get a motion to retroactively approve the purchase orders. There are three of them retroactively. One is for Milton Union Schools for $150. The second one is for Discovery Tours for $2,947.90. And the third one is for Scholastics for $144.
Move we do approve.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Trussell,
Yes.
Mrs. Reeves,
Yes.
Mrs. Beamish,
Yes.
Mr. Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Lucas.
Yes. That concludes your report.
Yes, it does.
Next, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. First one is gifts donated to Troy City Schools. Mr. Herman?
It's been a big month. Our total for Fairway, $58,266.31. Year-to-date, $211,097.38. Probably the big one, the Troy Foundation, obviously $11,000. We have ConAgra for $23,000. The ConAgra is a yearly donation that they give us. And the Ohio School Facilities for $17,985. And probably need to talk about that. That came out of the safety grants from the state, and we were awarded that money in a grant. Basically, we're getting an emergency notification system, and it covers the cost of that, which is very, very nice. It basically will allow us, for example, on my computer, I can hit a couple keys on my computer, and I can send a message out to everyone instantaneously, and it'll hit the police the same way. And so everyone that had it set up to this will respond immediately.
All the offices will have access into that as well.
We have enough sites, all our buildings will have it, our offices will have several locations, and each building will have access to it. And it'll send a signal immediately. So if you're out on patrol, it's gonna come across your computer and you'll be here very quick. So it's kind of a nice setup. So that's what that's about. And probably what's not on there, I need to mention again, just because we're in that, is Upper Valley Medical Center. I mean, it's quite a healthy check. And Rachel's Challenge is quite a bit of money, so that they're really helping out Troy Schools quite a lot.
I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the gifts.
So moved.
Second?
I know one thing, as we take a look at this, there are some pretty big checks. During this time of the year, you start to see individuals giving $10, $20 for DC trips, and I think as the school district board of education, we appreciate a donation, whether it's $10 or $10,000. And Mr. Herman, I'm sure that you will make sure that we express our gratitude for these gifts.
Absolutely.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hefner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beamish,
Yes.
Mrs. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Trussell,
Yes.
Mr. Lucas.
Yes. Next on our agenda is a consideration of a bid to replace the roof at the Troy Junior High and Troy High School. Advertisements were placed to solicit bids to replace these roofs at the Troy Junior High and the high school. They were placed, the advertisement were placed from January 4th, 2014 to January 11th. The bids were sealed and made available until January 29th. They were closed on January 29th. At that time, we received 8 bids, and we are recommending that we go with the combined lowest bidder submitted by Command Roofing in the amount of $443,500. I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the bid.
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Herman and Mr. Price, you're going to...
It's pretty straightforward. It's for the junior high and the high school roof replacement. It'll finish up the junior high. It needs it, basically.
It's partial roof replacement, both
Yeah.
locations. We bid it two different ways, each site separately, because there are two different styles of roofs, and then a combined bid. And the two separate bids were, if we would have taken that, or proposed taking that option, we would have saved about $4,000, but you're dealing with two different contractors. This company, based on Titus's job review and calling references, he feels very comfortable with choosing one vendor and going the combined bid option.
Where does this put us with respect to the total roof at both places? I know that we've strategically said we're going to do part
This
of
will
it.
finish up both locations. They will have been completely re-roofed
And when's the work gonna be done?
this summer,
This summer?
as soon as school's out.
We did the bids early because in years past, we were late.
Mhm.
And so we didn't get a lot of response on our bids. So we put the package out this early so we could get a good price and get more interest.
The work is supposed to be done by August 1st.
Okay.
How did this fit with what you had forecast
We're about 75,000
to the good?
below, yes.
Okay, good.
Yep, we were very pleased.
Yeah.
Good.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Reeves,
Yes.
Mr. Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Trussell,
Yes.
Mrs. Beamish.
Yes.
Mr. Lucas.
Yes. Next on our agenda is the adoption of Calamity Days Alternative Makeup Plan. We've had some discussions about these Calamity Days. So this resolution, be it resolved that the Troy City School Board of Education hereby approves adopting Calamity Days Alternative Makeup Plan and authorizes its filing upon completion with the Ohio Department of Education. I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the resolution.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Urban, you want to talk about this? We've had some discussion with this and
Yeah,
what
basically,
this means.
to get involved in Calamity Day, the alternative plan, you're supposed to notify the state by August 1. And because we've had so many days out, they've opened that window again. There's a lot of work that has to be done to get this completed, but first step was get a resolution from the board to okay to move on with this. We've got a plan and several other things. We're not sure if it's going to materialize this year, but we'll make sure if it's not, we'll have this back on the agenda so we can beat the August 1st deadline. This is one of those things, we've not done it before, quite honestly, because we've not had those type of winters. This one, we're not being sure exactly how it's going to all materialize, being the middle of February. So,
What will this plan entail? I mean, because historically, we've always had our calamity pickup or makeup days identified on our school calendar, so.
it won't change that. You don't have to use it, just gives the option to use it if you would need it.
Okay.
In essence, it's kind of like a teacher would have a day's worth of work, in theory, on the website, whatever it may be, and the student can access that work, to do that work. And to be counted as a day of attendance, everyone has to, 75% of students have to hand back in work. That's good work, not just name on a piece of paper. If you don't have 75%, it doesn't count as a day, but if you have 75%, then you have permission to count as a day. But like I said, there's a lot of things that has to get done to get to that point.
And then
And-
we also evaluated the e-courses.
That's part of what this
Okay.
is. It all depends how you want to structure it. We've not had any talks, just very, very brief about this. I just thought it was a good idea to get this on here, so if we would, right now, we've not any talks, and I'm not sure we can get it together this quickly. It's a little different, our district, 4,600 kids, it's a little, everyone has to have a lesson, and, they have to do a day, and you have to have 3 days of them. It's a little bit more than one may think.
So this would not help us for this school year?
It could possibly, but I don't know when they're gonna close the window on us. When I asked them,
Okay.
they wouldn't give me an answer, like, how long is this window open?
I would think it would be really difficult to
I would too, but
get it together for this school year, but next would be.
I would too, but I didn't think, well, what's it gonna hurt if we don't use it,
Right.
then we don't
And the
use it. but at
theory is
least-
all grade levels?
Mhm.
Okay.
And we have traditionally, our tradition is that we add the days on at the end.
Correct.
And what we're seeing is that there's other alternatives.
Other
Where you talk
alternatives,
about the
yeah.
online,
Mhm.
you see some of the neighboring school districts that are doing that, so. It's
That's
something-
not something you just overnight decide.
Right.
Because the teachers have to plan for it, they have
Yeah.
to put the
They have
the
to
whole
agree to
program
it,
in
right.
place.
Well, and there's some work to it. I mean, not only the assignments have to, you have to put them out for students, but then somebody has to grade those assignments and come back in. Because there has to be some posting of it just for accountability. You can't just throw an assignment out and then you got 75% of them turned back in and count it, you know what I mean? That's,
Right.
in theory, it has to be a meaningful day of instruction, so it has to be that type of work. But we didn't think it was a problem of getting at least this far. Plan's not developed, there's a lot more discussion, and honestly, I don't think we have time to get it done.
Yeah.
But we need to start the discussion, so we maybe meet the next deadline of August 1st for next year. So I wanted to make sure that the board was okay, at least us pursuing that and see where it takes us.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Trussell?
Yes.
Mrs. Beamish?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mrs. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes. Next on our agenda is the personnel items. I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the personnel items as noted on Exhibit D for the first, for the February personnel. Receive a nomination, please.
So moved. Second?
Mrs. Stout?
Well, we're starting to see retirements and resignations come in for the end of this school year. We've got 2 long-term administrative assistants and 2 long-term teachers, and I would anticipate we're going to see quite a few more. So we're starting to, look at our staffing plans for next year.
And in some of these cases for the retirees, you pre-plan this, you ask them in advance, so do you typically know when these teachers?
Not necessarily. Most of the staff will give us notice in time for us to go out and do spring recruiting, but there's a March 1 deadline with an incentive in place for people who are in their first year of eligibility, but outside of that, there is no deadline.
Okay. All right.
But again, most people
Right.
let us know in enough time to replace them, so.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Beamish?
Yes.
Mrs. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Trussell?
Yes.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes. This brings us to our second hearing of the public. If anyone in the audience wishes to address the board on something that's not related to the agenda, please stand and state your name. All right. Before we move to adjournment, I'll ask, do we have any things that we want to discuss?
Eric, I think it's worth noting, you want to make a comment on what transpired a couple weeks ago as far as providing for some of our students in the district? I don't think we need to dwell on it in great detail, but I think that's the type of stuff we need to let the community know that the administration is sensitive to, and we care about our students. So.
Well, I think you're talking about the gloves.
Yeah.
Well, the weather's just been pretty crazy, and we have that same hopeless feeling sometimes here, like what are we going to do next, because we don't know what the weather's going to be. But we spoke about it a little bit, and we went out in the community and hit Myers, Walmart, and Kohl's, and basically bought most of the hats and gloves that they had in possession, and then distributed those out to the buildings, just to try to make sure, in case there's one kid out there that doesn't have something, we want to make sure they have it. Because there's no way we can escape going to school without it not being cold. We're in Midwest, since winter, it's going to be cold sometime, so we can't get around that. But it was a nice thing. I mean, we got the people in the building here sorted them out, and we got them out to everybody, and so it's a good thing. So it's not that we're heartless toward the weather, we understand that, but so that was our attempt to try to do something. We went out of the building a day or two before that, and it was surprising me how many students I watched come through the front door not equipped at all for the weather. And not saying a word about it, they just marched to the door and went run to the class. But you could see that, from that they weren't ready for it.
Right.
So many of them were getting something as they walked in and walked out. So, and many of our buildings have a supply of things on the.
I was going to say, even an extension of that, because I've talked to a couple of the different, certain clubs in particular that have supported some of our individual buildings. They've kind of adopted them. So, it's not like it's not been available to some degree, but I thought it was very generous that the district stepped forward and recognized the need and went out and tried to address it. And we're not always as good at tooting our own horn, but I think it's important that the community knows that we actually do care about the student and as a person, not just as a student, so.
But we tried to help. We might have made it ugly for some people because we bought everything that was out on the. So if they were looking, they weren't gonna find it.
Some towns can't find snow shovels, we can't find gloves, right?
I'd like to ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mrs. Beamish?
Yes.
Mr. Trussell?
Yes.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes.